My name is Christy Busby, and you are about to listen to the next episode of my podcast called F.A.T.E, From Atheism to Enlightenment. So come on in, join me. We're going to talk about it all, from atheism to enlightenment. Alrighty, guys, here we go. Get ready, and welcome to your F.A.T.E. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of F.A.T.E. How's everybody doing out there? On today's show, I am bringing you Dr. Rick Neo. He is a spiritual teacher, author, and we are going face to face with karma today. Dr. Rick Neo, all the way from Singapore. Welcome to your F.A.T.E, my friend. How you doing?
Hi, my dear Christy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So, my name is Rick, and I'm a spiritual teacher and author based off Singapore. So, I'm here to talk about my new book, Karma. Sorry, Face to Face with Karma. But even beyond that, I'm here to have a really exciting and good chat with you, Christy, about ascension, spiritual awakening, enlightenment, and how we can all do our part to support each other in this particularly difficult time. But yeah, thank you so much again, Christy, for having me.
Thank you, Rick. I will say this. We are like-minded, my friend, because I also feel like I have a mission to awaken as many people as possible during these interesting times we're living in. So I definitely want to talk about your book, but I also want to talk about this mass awakening that is happening during these interesting times. Also, I would like to note that your PhD is in political science, which is interesting that is also in your repertoire of what you deal with, especially right now. Um, but when I started reading your book, the first thing that I pinged on was that you have a bit of a story to tell about how this book was birthed, how it came about through visions, and you talk about having some plant medicine journeys. So can we start with how did this book come about? What was your journey with it?
Absolutely, my dear. So I initially did not set out to write a book at all. So what happened was about 2 years ago, I embarked on a series of plant medicine. So I took ayahuasca in a shamanic setting, and so the visions started off being extremely heavy. So one of the first visions I got during the plant medicine, right, was an encounter with an energy or an entity. So, when we have visions, right, we don't really see the person, but we perceive it in our third eye. So, essentially what I was shown how karma was created. Like, each of us are connected energetically, and what we do onto others is it's imprinted energetically in I know there are many terms for it, right? They call it Akashic records. But to me, all I saw was a web of energy that everyone was connected. And I was led to review the things that I did in my past when I was younger. So for example, things like being impatient with my parents, telling white lies to my friends and things like that. So I went through these different scenes in my life so far, scene by scene, and I felt really bad because I was like, oh shit, I should have done that. Oh shit, I should have seen the bigger picture. When people ask for my help, I shouldn't be so impatient. I should be with them fully present. So I was made to. It was almost like a loop. So for about an hour or so, right? I was having visions, and I've also shown how we're all connected and how each action we do to others, again, it's imprinted in an energetic field. And this vision, again, repeated itself. The next night, I went for the plant medicine again. But during this vision, right, so it was almost like a continuation of sorts. So during the next night, I was given more messages. Again, these messages come intuitively because when we are having visions or seeing or feeling or getting revelations of sorts, right, it's not really logical. It goes through your heart and intuition. So I was shown that I had more or less resolved my karma, and that henceforth I was almost like given an understanding intuitively of how karma works, in the sense that it is us. One of the key teachings or one of the key revelations I was shown was that it is not God who records our karma, but ourselves who record our karma. Again, this explains why, for example, we cannot escape karma, because we cannot escape our own eternal observer. So this ties into a lot with all the different scriptural teachings that all essentially point to the same thing, right? In the Bible, we hear that every single hair is counted by God. So I was given an intuitive understanding, and so I left pretty shaken by the visions because it was really heavy. Because I knew that having this knowledge, right, demanded and a corresponding level of action in my life. So I could no longer pretend that, oh, I didn't know karma exists. I could no longer pretend that, oh, I don't need to be mindful. I could just brush off people impatiently. No. So I had to be extremely mindful, and that really propelled me. I mean, it assisted me in my own spiritual awakening. But aside from that, right, so after a few months, right, I wrote whatever I received down, and I thought, teachings were not very complex. It was just essentially a compilation and an explanation of what has been taught, for millennia. Different religions have all taught about karma, spoken about karma. But of course, there's been some corruption along the way, lah, because, it's been passed down from teachers to teachers to teachers, and even across people who might not be very spiritual but are just here to hold on to power. So yeah, I thought that it was actually very important for me to compile what I experienced, but more importantly, what I got out of it in terms of teachings and share it to the world.
Yeah.
So again, so that was really the motivation of my pretty short book. So it's really about summarizing or tying together the different aspects of karma and explaining it to an ordinary person in a way that allows the person, that makes sense,
Yes.
makes logical sense to the person, makes sense to the person, instead of like, oh, it's like, when we talk to a typical Buddhist, right, it becomes very much like a blind faith, blind belief kind of system, without understanding in a way that that can intellectually convince us. So again, visions are not particularly intellectual, but I thought I tried to bring in scientific perspectives and perspectives from different religions
Yeah.
in a way that explain karma in a way that's easy to understand, that doesn't overwhelm people.
Yeah.
And also the last thing is, my intention for the book is also to do away with all the esoteric writing, because as you know, Christy, scriptures, all the different sutras, all different, the Vedas, the Upanishads, they are all very written in, esoteric Sanskrit that are translated into even more esoteric English. So my objective really was to put it together in a way that ordinary people can understand, and hopefully each mind healed and each mind healed in that sense, right? It's a soul save to me. So as long as one person benefits from this book, I think you know it's a huge blessing that God has given me
Yeah.
already. So I'm sorry for the whole
No,
monologue, but
no.
I just want to share.
I want to hear your story. Tell us all. I mean, before we get further into karma, I do want to talk a little bit about plant medicine and ask you what put you on your path to ayahuasca. I myself have done ayahuasca several times, and so I understand the ceremonial aspect of it, how impactful it can be, how it can really open your mind to another level of consciousness that you didn't even realize was capable, that, it can really blow your whole pot of reality right out of your realm. And it can trigger a lot of individuals to kind of, it did for me anyways, it really is one of the big triggers that helped put me on my path, was going and sitting with ayahuasca and understanding, oh, okay, reality isn't really what I think it is. There's more going on than what I have been told or taught. And I was also going through a health crisis, so I was in healing mode anyways. So ayahuasca was a great pair for that, to get on my healing journey. But what is your story with ayahuasca? What pulled you in that direction? Because Mother Ayahuasca is not for everybody. Sometimes she calls you and sometimes she doesn't. So do tell.
Love it, Christy, to know that you have been through a journey. So we are definitely on the same wavelength. But the thing about ayahuasca, you're very right that historically they've always called it the shaman drug. So it's only meant for like spiritual teachers of the community, who are meant to give counsel to like the leaders of the place. So you're absolutely right that not everyone should take ayahuasca frivolously. So you would be called to it, and the clearest sign would be your level of excitement for it. My own experience was that so I was undergoing crisis as well when I took ayahuasca about 3 years ago. So what happened was I was in a professional career crisis. So what happened before my switch was that I used to be a lecturer in university. So I also worked as an analyst in one of the large American pharmaceutical company. So the pay was good, life was good, and I didn't really have to work much. But the thing is, I didn't find meaning what I was doing because I knew that firstly the things I was teaching in politics, right? I knew that political system it's inherently corrupted, it's inherently flawed. So the things I was teaching my students, right? Like, oh, you can express your preferences through the voting system. I knew it was never going to happen, and also the system was set up for failure. It was set up to polarize people, left versus right, and keep them squabbling with each other. So I knew I was teaching them rubbish. So it kind of bore on my soul. The longer I stayed in academia, and aside from that, right, I was also working in a large pharmaceutical company. So as you know, right, the whole COVID debacle, I was doing intelligence and security. So I was keenly aware where are the security issues and where are the security risks, political risks that pharmaceutical companies face. And I've seen some pretty dark stuff in terms of cover ups and in terms of especially right. This is something I can say, and this is something that has been evidenced already. When we talk about the vaccines, right, it was not something that has been rigorously tested at all. So I know very clearly that the vaccines were tested in like probably like less than 50 people for it to be considered, and there were adverse reactions there as well. So in addition to the vaccines, right, that were causing a lot of security pushback or social pushback. We also have other product lines, right, that I saw caused a lot of health issues, not just in the recent years, but across literally the 100 years, the past century. So as I was doing this, I was thinking, again, my soul didn't really sit right with me because I knew it's almost like I was co-opting myself to serve something that was clearly dark in
Yes,
society.
yes, yes.
Definitely, I'm sure you can resonate, my dear. It's exactly why you're doing what you're doing. So, so that was, I was like, okay, I needed to do something that was more like my soul. So, but for the previous 6, 7 years, right, even when I was doing my PhD, I was very drawn towards spiritual studies. I was very drawn towards astrology, towards esoteric ritual work. So I was thinking, okay, can I make this my thing that I do? So what happened? What was the triggering point was I went for with a like a astrology reading, and it was extremely expensive, like $500 US. But the lady, right, she didn't know anything at all. She was like, telling me very basic stuff that, what my son was and what very, very basic stuff. And so it was almost like a waste of money and time. It was like an hour session. But then I was thinking, okay, so she can charge $500 telling essentially nothing. So, and all the more me who have studied for like 7, 8 years, so I could do much more and I could charge much less because it's not really something I do for profit. So I was thinking, okay, that was my catalyst. So as I decided to leave my job, right, I needed that little push, that little courage, and so I saw ayahuasca as well, and what I received was confirmation that I had to leave, I had to go through this dark night of the soul and leave my old professional life behind and be brave and take those steps forward. So that was what grandmother Aya did for me, and eternally grateful always. But that was my journey to ayahuasca. So it came again as a crisis, as all who seek out ayahuasca and also mushrooms would
Yep.
would typically
Yep.
experience. But ayahuascas tend to be more life like crisis level kind of circumstances,
Yes.
and that was the marking point of my life. So that was about 3 to 4 years ago, and since then my life completely went a
Change.
different trajectory. Exactly, and I would love to hear your experience, and I'm sure one of your podcasts you've talked about it.
I mean, I
But that was my story.
I mean, I almost died like over 10 years ago of a health crisis, and it took me a long time to try and recover. And during trying to get my health back, I was finding that Western medicine wasn't helping me. And so I started seeking alternative ways to heal. Um, and I started doing things like combo. I don't know if you know what combo is. So I started doing
That's intense, yes.
yeah, it's very intense, and I've sat through several combo sessions, and that led me into a community that I felt comfortable to be able to sit with, and I've sat with ayahuasca 2 or 3 times, and it is. I will say this though. My journey with ayahuasca, I don't think is over. I think I will go back and do ayahuasca again. I think I've only scraped the surface of what it can bring you and how it can heal you. But it's it told me a lot of things. It said that that I was a healer, that I that I was powerful, and that I had a journey ahead of me, basically. And I have really been, this podcast kind of came out of my ayahuasca journey, and along the way, I have met so many mediums and psychics and people approaching me constantly and telling me this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I actually had one of my former guests email me the other day and say that he's a mystic, a yogi master, and when he sits, he speaks to higher realms, higher consciousness, higher beings. And he said that he was told that I needed to continue my spiritual practice so I can gain higher consciousness and be contacted by them, that they're waiting for me, and that I was supposed to be involved in an important way into the great awakening of this planet right now. And I get that feedback all the time, that you're going to be huge. You're going to have a platform. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to teach people how to love. You have no idea what's in store for you, like on and on and on and on and on. So I have just been walking in this direction. I mean, when you were like, we could talk about karma, but I really want to talk about awakening as many people as possible. I am in the same boat. Like, this podcast for me has not only been an incredible school because I've talked to shamans and energy healers and near death experiencers. It has been like a school that I've just been absorbing all of this information. And now I feel like I need to share it with as many people as possible and let people know that there is more going on in our world than we think there is, that we are spiritual beings of light. We are fractals of the great divine. We are eternal, and that we are here to learn, to grow, and expand our consciousness. And we all need to awaken to our true selves. That is what I'm saying.
Right there with you, Christy. And let me add my voice to the chorus of your guests who have affirmed and confirmed that you are on your path. So, Christy, I'm adding my voice to it as well. So you're very much on your path. You're very aligned. So, one message I have for you as well is that as you awaken others, right, don't forget to spend time for yourself as well,
Mm.
because part of, how to say, it's service to other people will always consider the last part of our incarnations on earth, because before we liberate ourselves, we are always asked to give back to society, and you are doing right, exactly that. So you are pretty much at the last arc of your incarnational life, or script that you have planned for yourself. But that said, do also, you know, like what the healers or the mystics have shared. Do also create space for yourself to seek out the spiritual practices you're drawn to, and also to love yourself, and yeah, create the space and time to take care of yourself as well, instead of but because I know awakening other people, it takes up a lot of our time and our energy, and as light workers we always like to give, right? It's like, oh, take all my time, take all my time, and don't need to pay me anything, but we can burn out ourselves, and this is a lesson that the universe will be forced to teach us if we do not awaken to that. But again, Christy, amazing work. Proud to be right beside you as a light worker, and much love for you and respect for your work.
I interview many, many light workers, and I think the new incarnation as this show goes on, because I'm a fairly new podcast, but I think the trajectory of the show is literally, I want to bring on as many light workers, as many people that are awakened and are trying to tell their stories and help awaken others that are ready to do that. That is going to be the show. And now I really think we're at a part in our history where it is so important for people to step out of this 3D pre-programmed way of our society has just taken our power away from us. And it's really time to take our power back, step into our true selves, and create the world in which is going to bring back peace, harmony, joy, love. And if people understood how important karma is and how it affects your incarnation and how it really is the key in a lot of ways to living your best life here. Um, if you had to tell people the most important parts of karma, what are the best things that you should learn or know?
Right. I think so. I've got a couple of short messages here, I
Yes.
think, but I think primarily would be number one. Karma literally is distilled down to this a single sentence. Literally, it'll be what you do unto others, you do unto yourself. Why? Because, like what you mentioned, we are all fractals, or we are all what they call the sons and daughters of God. So literally, we are all connected. So if I hurt you, my left is literally like the left hand hurting the right hand. It's going to come back to yourself. So this is literally the distilled message of karma. Again, what you do unto others, you do unto yourself. And it's not something novel. It's something that's been repeated by masters for the past, thousands of years. But that said, um, karma is literally the basis of moral and ethical living. If we cannot conceive of not doing unto other people what we ourselves want, then there will never be progress. We'll always be trapped in what Buddha calls the loop of suffering, where what we do unto others will inflict suffering back to ourselves, and hopefully this suffering can awaken our consciousness. If not, we are just going to repeat again in this life and subsequent lifetimes. So that is why Buddha and all masters say the same thing, right? They say our spiritual teachers only deal with the field of suffering. If there's no suffering, don't look for us, because you are living a good life, and continue and persist what you're doing are right. But if what you are doing in life is incurring suffering to you, right, then there needs to be what we call a change in your mindset. And therefore, and that's what the suffering is here to do, to break down your ego and to break down the way you do things, and your fixed and your stubbornness and your fixed beliefs.
Yeah.
So and the suffering is also meant to create space for you to be open to new perspectives.
Yes.
So that's what karma is here to do, really, to teach souls who are in separation consciousness eventually, and to eventually guide them back into unity
Yes.
consciousness. So I think aside from that, right, karma is also something that it is it's something that it's not a system of punishment. It's not like saying, oh, God wants you to do certain things, and then if you don't do the certain things, you'll be punished. For example, God doesn't want us to hurt other people, and therefore, if you hurt other people, we'll be punished. No, no, no. That is a morally twisted version of what karma is. Again, God, or our Creator, our Father, who on the highest level is us ourselves. Um, God is unconditionally loving. So there's no judgment on what we do. Again, the sun shines on Mother Teresa as much as it shines on murderers and rapists and killers. So it's unconditionally loving. So yes, God is unconditionally loving, but it doesn't. But parallel to that, what we do unto others, we do to ourselves. So yes, even as we incur karma for ourselves, we are never condemned by the divine. We are never cast away or judged by the divine. God loves us unconditionally still, but we still have to unwind our own karma by experiencing what we have done to other people. So it's not a system of punishment by God. No, no, no. What kind of sadist God
Yes.
would be to create souls and then say, okay, you can do whatever you want, but you must follow me. You are free to do whatever you want, but as long as you don't follow me, I'm going to punish you. No, that's not how it works. This is nothing more than fear programming by groups of people that has captured religious structures across the world. So again, God is unconditionally loving. You can do whatever you want. That's the point of 3D Earth, right? We forget we are part of God and each other, and therefore we can experience suffering, and therefore we can experience what it feels like to hurt other people.
Yes.
So yes, do what you want, but be mindful and be aware that what you do unto others will come back into to you. And if you don't believe that, you're free to try it for yourself. Do it and have the results of your actions, have the fruit of your actions teach you and awaken you. So yeah, I think these are the two main messages I wanted to share about karma. Let me see if there's any final messages about karma.
Well,
Yes, one more thing about karma, lastly, would be karma is also what we call fate or destiny. So we came into this life in different bodies. Some are born poor, some are born rich, some are born handicapped, some are born tall, some are born short, some are born ugly. So this is not something we can choose, right? So on one hand, a materialist, someone who is completely atheist, like what your show
I,
name,
I was.
would say that, Oh, you
I
were?
was.
Okay.
I was an atheist my whole life until I had my health crisis and it stepped me on my journey. And like, I didn't believe in God. I was all science. If I couldn't feel it, taste it, hear it, smell it, it didn't exist. But anyways, go ahead.
Oh, perfect, right. So that health crisis again, divine intervention, but okay. So so that karma is also called destiny because we come into the life in different circumstances. Then of course someone who's an atheist or materialist would say, oh, it's random or it's so unfair. Universe is like a lottery system. So but is that the highest truth? If you look around us, you can see how perfectly divinely ordered everything is. If just the earth tilts, I think 0.0001 slower, right? There'll be no life on earth. So everything is calibrated to minuscule precision to support both life but also the evolution of life. So also karma is that which dictates our circumstances in this life, our main challenges, our main lessons, and also our main conditions. For example, if we are born with certain challenges or certain things, right? Typically, it's tied to something that we have done in past life or a lesson that we are continuing to learn
Yes.
from the past life. So this is also what Christ calls the cross we must bear.
Yes.
So we come into life with a certain cross that we must bear, and sometimes you alleviate a lot of our suffering if we just understand or we take responsibility for everything that's happened instead of blaming things like, oh, I'm randomly born in a poor family, I'm randomly born in a rich family. No, take responsibility that okay, perhaps there is a divine logic to why I was given this set of
Yes.
circumstances, and fine, act from the present and let's see how we can make the best out of
Yes.
it. So this is how karma and free will intertwine. So we came with circumstances. For example, we came with certain challenges and certain soul lessons to work with and certain soulmates that we want to work with.
Yeah.
So maybe my relationship with my mother is particularly challenging because I am she's here to teach me a lesson on how I can learn to forgive her, for example. So yes, these are things that we do not plan for ourselves consciously, but of course we have this is all plans that we have created for ourselves before we incarnated.
Yes.
So we didn't so-called plan it consciously, or at least we don't remember doing so. But what we can do, however, would be to take actions from the present
Yes.
that will change our future or that will really alleviate our karma and create our future conditions.
Yes.
So again, karma is not deterministic at all. It just shows you that you have came with certain lessons and challenges that you yourself crafted and planned for yourself.
Yes.
So love it unconditionally, understand it, and take responsibility for it. Because only when you own it can you change your own fate going forward.
Yeah.
So that's why all masters again say the same thing, right? It's what you do in the present, your level of vibration, how forgiving you are, and things like that would create your future. On the highest level, even God doesn't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
ahead because what's happening ahead is going to be determined by our actions or our decisions. So yes, there's a higher picture, higher plan, but the play by play unfolding, right? It's all within our control. So
Yes.
this is what karma is. So it's not about blaming karma. Oh shit, I'm unlucky, or oh I'm doomed this lifetime. There's nothing I can do. No, by accepting it and by taking actions out of love, we create that arc that redeems and saves not just ourselves but like what you mentioned, like people around you,
Yeah.
like you'll be able to lift the boat as
Yeah.
well. So, but yeah, that was what I wanted to share about karma, my dear.
I mean, there's I will say a few things. Um One of the things that I think people need to understand is I think everybody needs to have a past life regression to figure out who they were in prior lives because it will inform them on what their current karma life is. Don't you feel like it will reveal to you why you're having the relationships you're having? It will reveal to you why you're in the life circumstances that you're in. And I think if people took karma more seriously, it would really um, allow people to understand who they are and what they need to work on, what they need to become aware of in this lifetime. You also say something that I think is interesting. Well, it's true. It's not interesting, but people should know. As far as you going back to there is no punishment. You also, you can also flip that in the book, and which says there's really no right or wrong. It is just perspective and an opportunity to choose or experience another aspect of a scenario, that there is no right and wrong. However, your own actions, your karma will dictate what will come back to you and what will happen to you based on your own actions. So, no matter who you are out there, you're not, you have free will, but you're not going to get away from the law of karma. As far as what you decide to do, the path you take will come up, and you will learn lessons, good, bad, or ugly, based on what you decide to do with your light. Um, let's talk a little bit about, there is something called family karma, group karma, generational curses. How does that come about in one's life? What are those?
Um,
Because I don't I,
right.
I don't
Before
want to be held responsible for somebody else's bad decisions in group karma. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so karma, so we don't only have individual karma. So of course our individual karma is our priority. So to unwind it, to do with our own individual lessons. But as you know, we are all connected, and on the higher level, we are all part of each other in that sense. Think of us as like fingers. So there are collective consciousnesses, and there are collective lineages of energies and collective karma. So, for example, right, being born in a particular family, right, you inherit the challenges that your parents have failed to complete. So I'll give you an example. So my own family, right, I inherited early in my life, or I had to deal with poverty consciousness. So I was always brought up with the belief that money is difficult to earn. You must work hard for money. If you don't work hard, the universe will not take care of you. So obviously, this is not the highest truth. We are all daughters and sons of God. We are unendingly loved and provided. That's why even Christ says, right now, look at the birds and the bees, who they don't even worry about their survival. So why would you, the son of God, even worry for yours? So I inherited, a set of limiting beliefs concerning abundance that I had to consciously. So again, before I was conscious about it, right, it controlled my life. It dictated my life because whenever I deal with expenditure, I was conditioned to behave or react in a certain way. But as a result of spiritual work and a reflection, right, I realized that was not true. So I had to consciously process it. So this is what I mean by family karma. So you're born in circumstances and conditions, right, that affect you inevitably, and that it's your mission and your task, aside from working on your own karma, right, to help collectively lift up humanity. So give you another example. I'll use my example again. So as a Chinese, right, so one of the collective or one of the racial karma, so to speak, you inherit is that you tend not to you tend to care for the collective more than yourself.
Mm.
So if you disturb other people, right, then you rather or your inclination would be to sacrifice your own self-interest for the collective comfort. But again, this becomes a tyranny of the masses in a larger setting. So if you look at China, for example, right, it allows like domination over a group of people because nobody there to speak up. Everybody will be like, oh, if nobody's speaking up, then let's all just conform. So this is another example of what we call ancestral or racial karma, where your energetic field or yourself is part of a greater energetic field, and this energetic field, right, imposes on you certain belief systems, behavioral patterns, and also limiting belief systems and mindset that typically it's something you have to heal and unwind. So an example would be a poverty mindset and things like the one where you're asked to sacrifice your individual rights for group rights, right? But the beautiful thing about collective karma, right, is that that's why in the Bible they call it the sins of your father lah. So and your father would represent all the souls that came before you. So the beautiful thing about understanding family karma, group karma, collective karma, community karma is that you sign up for this. Like you chose to be born as a white person, as a black person, as a within this family to help unwind or to help them break free from their karmic pattern. So this is where the term black sheep comes in. This is where the term generational curses come in. So we don't need to be afraid of generational curses. We just need to understand that we sign up for this because we, as master souls, as light workers, as star seeds, we're here to help souls who have cried out for help. There are many earth souls that have been stuck in loops of suffering. So they are like, okay, I need a guide to incarnate with me this life. Don't just stay in my dreams. I need a physical guide. So we, yourself included, we have all signed up for this mission. So many of us who incarnate in black sheep families or families who have certain stuck consciousnesses. So they have been repeating loops for like generations. So we are here to break free from them. So how do we heal collective karma? By overcoming the fears that have been pre-programmed into ourselves. So I'll give you an example in my situation. So I have this poverty consciousness inherited by my family, by my grandparents, and so each time the fear of poverty comes up within me, right? So for example, I'm buying a large, I'm spending a lot for holiday, things like that. Each time the fear comes out, right, I need to be mindful of it. So I need to be aware the fear is coming up, and I need to be aware, okay, that this fear belongs to the animal body, and this fear belongs to ancestral karma. So it's not, it is one, it belongs to the ego who is afraid for its survival. It belongs to the animal body who needs to fight for survival. But that is only one perspective. That is not the highest truth. So the highest truth is that I am the soul, I'm not the body. The highest truth is that I am a son of God. And the highest truth is that I am taken care of by energy is abundant, unlimited, and I'm taken care of as long as I give love and service to the world. So, and I need to affirm that to myself and consciously choose that perspective. So I'll just go ahead. I'll be grateful that I get the ability to circulate and to purchase this. And so, again, the process of healing ancestral karma um, starts by being aware of your own limiting beliefs and then consciously choosing the highest perspective. So this is what Christ calls the choice, right? The choice between the Holy Spirit or fear. So life is really all about these two choices. Either you choose the Holy Spirit's voice, which is your highest truth, or you choose the animal body voice, which is fearful.
Yeah.
Again, we don't blame the animal body because we sign up for this. We want this experience of separation. But at a certain time, right, we're done with it. We're sick of it, or we have learned all the lessons that we need to learn. So this is when our ascension arc begins, our awakening or our path to enlightenment begins. So this requires what we call spiritual work. And spiritual work is not as simple as meditating, praying the whole day. No, no, no. Spiritual work is being very mindful of these things as they arise and bravely confronting the fear. So how do you confront it? You have to take an action that corresponds with your higher belief. So for example, if I'm asked to donate a certain amount to someone, right? Maybe someone who really needs my help. Instead of feeling constricted and poor, I'll be like, okay, I give this out of blessing, a gift of love, and I trust that the universe would use it for everyone's highest good. And therefore, I take the action instead of just having that thinking and be like, okay, never mind. So you need to complete the loop through action in this 3D reality. But that is how we heal ancestral karma. So I know generational curses, ancestral karma, these are very heavy terms. And in fact, these terms have been almost like weaponized or instrumentalized in the satanic or the dark community in whereby they'll be like, I can lay ancestral curse on your whole line, or all you need to do to heal your ancestral curse is to pay me $500 and do a cleansing. So that's not absolutely not how it works. So by sharing this with you, I hope our listeners come to an understanding where there's nothing to be afraid of. You chose for it, and you as a son of God have the power to break free of it by being mindful, and that's how you lift your curse. So as you break free from your own curse, right, you create the energetic line where your family members can follow you. So again, it's not about blaming your father or your parents. It's not about demanding that your parents suddenly become abundant or suddenly change their mind. No, no. You set the example, and with your example set, you create that spiritual momentum, the energetic momentum that can liberate them as well. So,
I mean, I,
yeah. So,
I love that, and it speaks to the we are so much more powerful, and we have so much more control over what happens to us when you start being consciously aware of your emotions, of what you're feeling, your decisions, your impact on other people, how you're vibrating. All of these things matter, gang, and we have to stop being so distracted by bullshit and start understanding what we're here to do, who we are, and how powerful we truly are. Now, I only have you like for another maybe like 10 minutes. Um is there a great awakening happening? What is the current trajectory of the humans on this planet? Is 5D a thing? Let's get into awakening the global conscious and how important that is right now in these times.
right. So the Great Awakening. So my own understanding, my own spiritual visions, and my own intuitive downloads has been that yes, it's true. Earth is undergoing what we call a great ascension or awakening. So where Earth is moving from a species of just 3D or material living towards one in which we become more intuitive, we become more loving, and we become more a bit more spiritual power abilities unlocked. So things like a bit of clairvoyance, a bit of more intuition, and a bit of faster manifestation generally. So yes, it is my understanding that it is ongoing. So I'm sure you've heard of the term timeline split, right? So what have been going around, what I myself intuitively understand, but I also receive from other masters and other teachers is that there will be a certain time, at a certain point in the coming years, right, there will be a time where Earth almost like have kind of like a timeline split where all the souls who have chosen love, who have chosen to trust, to be compassionate, right, they would be placed into what we call the 4D or 5D Earth. So they'll receive conditions in which, the government would start to become less tyrannical and things like they will start having scientific discoveries that perpetuate things like free energy and things like that. So there will be conditions that this ascending or awakening Earth would go into, whereas there will be a split where in which souls who refuse to, or who are still unawakened, whose consciousness have not been awoken because of increasing suffering in their life or things like that, right? They'll be put into what we call a 3D Earth. So again, this is based on mythology as well. So essentially, the Noah's Ark and things like that. So this is what we call a systemic reset. So for those who are unawakened, right? So they will split, or their consciousness will be put into a 3D Earth in which the Earth would increasingly become darker, 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 and eventually will collapse because that Earth, right, it has become too dark, and that there's no more light left. So I'll give you an example. So we know that Earth is a reality of choice. There needs to be the ability for souls to choose between light or dark. But if you look around us on Earth, right, the choice has essentially been taken away from us. Like we are coddled into education that brainwashes us, into money that forces us to so-called exploit other people. And of course, there's always a choice there. But generally, the choice becomes almost hidden away from souls. Like they don't have the consciousness and ability to choose light in the face of darkness anymore.
Yeah.
So, and that is why the dark earth, right, has to be resetted. So they will be reset into a place where it becomes more 50-50. Whereas the light souls or the awakening souls, right, they'll put on an ascension arc in which Earth eventually is allowed to rejoin what we call our galactic community.
Yes.
So we'll be able to communicate with our alien brothers. And this is very similar messages shared by other teachers and masters like Darren Anko, I think, Bashar, and different. So bits and pieces of the same message have been coming through. So we also can see the evidence of this, right? If you look into all the billionaires on Earth, what have they been doing? They've been buying doomsday bunkers, they've been building doomsday bunkers because they know with the amount of karma they've incurred in this lifetime, right, they have to continue being what we call the gatekeepers of darkness. So they have to join the dark earth, continue being the catalyst of darkness, and eventually join the reset of their souls will join the next iteration of Earth. So this is what is going on right now. So the specifics in terms of which consciousness we go through, right, this will all play out perfectly. So we don't need to worry. But all that we need to focus on as part of this awakening is that hold the space of love. So as awakened souls, as masters like you, right, we are all here to recognize oneness in each other and see divinity. And even if someone else is unawakened, still hurting other people, right, we are not here to condemn them. We are here to hold energetic space for them, to look at them and say, okay, you might be playing out your egoic scripts, but I know you, and you are a son of God just like I am, and I'm here to hold space for you. So this is what awakened souls like us, we are here to do. So hold space, and also like what you've been doing towards people who are receptive, right? Share the truth with them, share messages of love, messages of unity, because ultimately spiritual teachings are very simple. It is dark teachings of corruption that makes it complicated, right? So it's always built on the same messages of unconditional love and unity. Why unconditional love? Because we are all part of the same God, and it's really just this message. So again, all we do, right, is that we focus on our lane, choose love over fear in our choices day to day. Just be a bit more present. When your parents are grumbling, give them love, spend time with them. You don't always being impatient and follow the ego, be like, okay, you need to be productive, you need to do this, do that. No, sit in your space, hold space, and act out of love. And also one more thing is, so think of the timeline split or the whole ascension process, right, as all the bullies being separated from from the good students. So eventually, so Earth generally has been a place in which the bullies are allowed to interact with the good students, but um, it's time for a change, and it's time for progress and a new experience. So that's why there needs to be eventually a split or time in
Yep.
which dark souls are allowed to play the games that they want, they enjoy, and the light souls are allowed to play the games that they themselves enjoy. So again, there's no judgment. Everyone will choose according to their level of consciousness and also their level of their own soul plans on a higher level.
Yeah.
So if they are still here to experience separation, right? Good for them. All the love to them. And in fact, these are the souls who would become the next cycle's masters. So they might be the baby souls now, but next cycle they would be the Buddhas, they would be the Christs who would help the next generation of young souls. So there's nothing to be afraid of, except that we just need to be aware this shift is happening. One more thing I'll share about the ascension is that karma, I'm sure you have realized, my dear Christy, has been speeding up.
Yeah.
We are all faced to confront our fears, our anxieties, our challenges. And if you don't, you will very quickly be pushed into suffering. So if you look around us, people are having health issues, getting struck down with debilitating health issues, especially, or losing their money, or starting to suffer because their souls want to take advantage of this so-called speeding up time where if they heal and if they choose love, they are very quickly able to unwind decades of karma or very quickly able to raise their vibration. So think of it almost like as a quantum an opportunity, a very rare opportunity in which we are all allowed to make quantum leaps in our consciousnesses. So, but yes, that's the great awakening going on, and we are all doing our part, and then very much you yourself, Christy. So, but the key thing is not to panic, because I've had a lot of people reaching out to me asking me, oh shit, will my son make the shift to the light timeline, or would my family come along with me? So, everything will be divinely ordained. So we guide whoever we can and whoever is willing to listen. But if they are not, bless them because they will be guided by their own masters. And remember, the Holy Spirit is always within each of us. So the responsibility of awakening the world is not on us, my dear. It's on the Holy Spirit. We are here to play our role, what Krishna calls our dharma, right? Our dharma is to, as masters, it is to play that role to help the group of people who we are meant to help and walk lightly without carrying other people's burdens and karma because everything is perfect and then it's all just a game on a higher level. Lah. So everyone will be safe when the time is right.
I will say that my spiritual journey has led me to be much less fearful. I don't fear. There's so many things to be fearful of right now. You see our institutions collapsing in the United States. We're a mess right now politically. There's unrest in the streets on the daily. The economy is on the verge of a melt. I mean, there you could just go on and on and on with the level of crazy shit that is going on in the planet right now. The wars. We're getting ready to do another big threes coming up. I also think aliens are going to be coming down here. I don't think they're going to let us put nukes up in the outer stratosphere. They're not going to let that go down. So they're going to come down here and say, chill out, yo. We don't do that shit. You're not doing it. So there's so many things to be scared of. People are going to be losing their minds. And I have to tell you, I am as calm as a cucumber. Like it is not impacting me at all because I have this inner knowing, this inner peace, this inner calm that I am aware of what's happening. I am trying to transmute it. I try and keep my vibration high. I try and enlighten people as much as I can. And I will say this, um, other people have told me the reason I am awakening here is because it's my last go on this rock. Like, this is my last go. I'm not coming back. I'm ejecting into the cosmos. I'm done after this life. So I'm here to awaken as many people as can. And I am walking into that mission like, okay, I've heard it too many times from too many people that this is where I'm supposed to be going. So I'm heading in this direction. You don't have to tell me 800 times. So I'm doing it, but it's I'm trying to, instead of being scared, I'm trying to look at it as a very exciting time to be alive on the planet. And although we are going to see a lot of misfortune out there, I'm sure, I feel very divinely protected, and I know that I am walking the path I meant to walk, and that at the end of the day, it's and everything is going to happen in divine timing. And I should really, I'm trying to release the reins of control and be in the flow. It's the best thing you can do.
Such a beautiful message, Christy. That is literally, channeled by the Holy Spirit. And this is the message everyone should take away from this podcast, but also when they are faced with fears in their lives, right? Remember, it's always a challenge. It's always an opportunity. Do you choose fear or love?
Yeah.
So, do you succumb to the fear, or do you choose what we call the voice of the Holy Spirit, which is always seeing things as, Christ calls it the Christed vision, seeing how everything is perfect in the arms of God, seeing how you and everyone else is eternal, seeing how it's all just, okay, we don't talk about it as just being a game because it is on the highest level just a game, but maybe not very practical to apply it. But how everything, as what you mentioned, is in divine time, in divine grace, and that all you're asked to do is to give love,
Yeah.
starting with unconditional love for yourself, forgiving yourself, accepting for yourself, and knowing that this love that you have, right, will shield you from all pain and all darkness. So and this actually is something that's very scientific. So David Hawkins, right,
Yes.
he actually did this maps of consciousness, and everything that vibrates with fear, anger, poverty consciousness, they all vibrate very low. So as long as you vibrate with unconditional love and acceptance and non-judgment, right, you are immune vibrationally from darkness. So
Ah,
again, it goes back to the myth where when witches curse you, right, all you need to do is just love and forgive the person, and you are immune because this is what unconditional love does for each of us because it is our nature, as part of God. So, but yeah, yeah,
I
back to you,
mean,
my dear.
I really wish you come back on the show anytime. I love that you're doing the work that needs to be done. You are a light worker. We are of like-minded. We are on the same journey. It was a pleasure to meet you. I will put your book in the show notes. And I wish, like I said, I could have you longer, but I told you I would keep you to your time, and our time is now. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rick Neo, the light worker, face to face with karma, your guide to fate and the grand law of karma, will be in the show notes. I'd like to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Christy, for having me. Again, all the love, nothing but love for you. And you are divine, and you are doing exactly what you're meant to do. So, respect for your work and all the love, and we will definitely be in touch. Yeah, so we will definitely be in
Yes.
touch, and I'll talk to you
We
again
will
soon. But
definitely do it again.
mm,
There's so much more to discuss. We are on a journey, my friend. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week on Fate from Atheism to Enlightenment. Journey well, everyone. Bye bye.
blessings and love. Bye bye.
And that is a wrap on this episode of Fate from Atheism to Enlightenment. Dr. Rick Neo. I mean, I could have talked to him for a lot longer. He was on a limited amount of time, so I was happy to get the time that I did. But I absolutely love talking to people that come right out and say, I'd love to sell books. That's great. But we can talk about whatever spiritual concept you would like because I am really here to help awaken people who are ready. And I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I feel like well, number one, my journey with this show has been interesting in itself, how it came about, how easily I started to get guests and start um, having a legitimate show, and how it fit like a glove for me as far as having somebody come on and having a great conversation and not feeling like should have been doing this forever. Honestly, quite frankly, never felt so at home in my life. So that's been weird. And then the other thing that's been weird is that it really has um, been. I've said this before, a school of sorts. I feel like I'm getting a bachelor's degree in spiritual concepts because I do have such a wide range of topics that I discuss. I feel like I approach everyone with a super open mind. I'm not cynical. I'm humble in the fact that I really don't know a lot. I'm here to learn and grow myself while I'm trying to expose the audience to new concepts. I'm getting exposed to it as well. So I feel like I've been learning right along with whoever is listening to this show. So It's just nice to talk to somebody um, who has the same goals. There is definitely an awakening happening on this plane at this time. We are definitely going through massive transitions all over the world. Like you can see so many things, monumental things transitioning, dying, folding. Our institutions are going away. Um, government Governments are completely changing. I'm in the United States. I mean, our government is completely like, I don't even know where it's heading. I'm just sending a lot of love and a lot of light, and that's all you can do. I know that through all of this chaos, disruption, suffering, even, there's going to be beauty on the other side of this. There is going to be, like Rick said, a separation of sorts, and there will be a higher plane where people are vibrating with love, joy, um, unity, oneness consciousness. And then there's going to be people who are unable to raise their vibration for whatever reasons, karmic probably. They're going to choose and stay in low vibrational land and see some very gnarly things happen. Um, and I also think aliens are going to come. I really do. I think aliens are going to be on deck in a couple of years max, if that. I don't know if you're watching me on YouTube. I have Maggie in my lap, and she's the cutest little girl. Um, karma. Karma is a universal law, and you should really, if you don't know anything about karma, how it works, what karma debt is, how you can pay back your karma with good deeds, merit. I really um, think everyone should do past life regressions. I might do it on the show, like literally record the whole thing on the show. I don't know if I'll release it because who knows what I'll say or what'll happen. I don't want all of my personal business out there, but I'm going to get a past life regression. I want to know more about what I'm supposed to be doing here. Is this my last incarnation? Am I on my right path? My health issues? Is that repaying karmic debt? Is that Was that supposed to happen to me? Did my own free will enable that to happen to me? I have so many questions about my life path, and it's dramatically changed, and especially in the last like 5 years. And I'm going to get a past life regression. But if you're on your path, if you're having a spiritual awakening, if you're just curious, you should really um, pick up his book, Face to Face with Karma. It's like 60 something pages, and it gives you such a short but sweet, detailed. It just goes over all the karmic laws. There's 8 universal karmic laws. It's a great short read that'll get you started on your own journey of how you can come back in your next life and have an easier time because you are going to march forward with knowledge about how the universe works, how the universal law works, and you're going to figure out a lot more about what the nature of reality is and get away from all of these distractions that we get caught up in on a day to day. I mean, it's getting really dystopian like out there. Every day it's getting worse. There's going to be more to come. And I would just advise everyone to stay calm. There is nothing to be afraid of. There is not. Everything is divinely orchestrated. The best thing you can do is vibrate with love, joy, peace. You know, if you want to stock up on some things because there might be a power outage here and there or something, I'm all for it. But don't live in fear. They feed us fear, division, hate, tribalism because they want that global consciousness to be negative. They want to manifest war. They want to manifest hatred. They want to manifest that. And we do it willingly because we're not aware of our ability to create, to manifest with our intentions and our thoughts. So if you're swimming in outrage and anger every day, you're fucking up the global consciousness. Stop it. Step back, breathe deep, listen to your inner intuition, get on your path, figure out who you are, figure out who you were, for that matter, and march forward knowing that what you have been taught was intentionally programmed to keep you locked in fear and locked in being in a powerless situation. So take your power back, even if you're not all about love and light and woo woo and spiritual and oneness. Do enough to take your power back by turning off the television or turning your phone off, putting your phone down, and start focusing your attention on other things that actually matter. Most of what we get distracted by is bullshit and doesn't matter. And I will just keep saying things like this: what you focus on grows. Your attention is your power, it is creative. Your emotions, everything is creation here on this plane. So learn to work with your vibration, your power, your intention. Don't be unconscious. Be aware of your ego. Be aware. Be mindful. I'm working on it too. I say that, like, when Dr. Neo was talking about forgiveness and self love, in my head I was thinking, oh yeah, I need to work on self love. I need to work on forgiveness. I need to work on these things. I struggle. I'm not a fan of people that are unintelligent but very opinionated. That gets a rise out of me really quick. And I tend to be very harsh towards people like that. And I need to do what Rick was saying, which is, that's their path. That's their journey. They're on it for a reason. It's none of my business. And they are going to figure it out. And wish them love. That's it. All you can do is like wish people love. Um, I want to have more light workers on. I want to start talking more about the global consciousness. And I'm going to start being a little bit more bold and coming out on social media and being more proactive. I mean, how many times do I have to be told that I am part of this great awakening, that I have a part to play, that I have had my awakening for a reason? I totally think it is my last hoorah on this rock, and that I'm getting off this plane. And that is why I am awakening at this point in my spiritual journey. And I think I should make the most of it, right? Come on, Maggie, let's get bold. Let's get out there and, you know, get people to wake up to who you are. That's the goal. Raise the global consciousness. I need your help to do that, though, gang. If you're enjoying what I'm doing here, like the show, share the show, subscribe to the show, um, rate the show, tell a friend, do something to support me in my endeavor. I need your support. I'm going to be out there much more on social media. I think I've been inspired by just so much lately of spirit somehow coming through to me through various people and telling me to stop half-assing it and step up to the plate and let's go. so so I don't know. I'm kind of doing it. I'm kind of gonna do it. I'm gonna start trying to awaken the masses in a much more aggressive way. Not aggressive, but proactive. I want to be more proactive. I want to start talking more about my own enlightenment. And I hope you will continue the journey with me. I hope you are starting to question your own belief system, your own programming. I hope you're starting to analyze what your own ego triggers are. Everybody has an ego, it triggers us. It's our gut, whatever initial reaction before we can actually take a breath, think, analyze, be logical, and not be so reactive to whatever we are confronted with. So that's about all I got for today, guys. What do you think, Mags? Think we should rock on? I'm going to rock on, gang. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I am at F.A.T.E podcast. Go ahead and follow the show. All right. With that, guys, we will see you next week on Fate, from Atheism to Enlightenment. And welcome to your fate, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye.